You are ready.
Can you tell me your name, your age, and who you are?
Peter Kepsel. What am I, 88 now? Yeah, 88. And the only town I ever lived in, my parents were here before I was born, was 1928. And I lived on Raymond. It was a brand new house on Raymond Street, 212 Raymond. And our sort of play area was across the street where the Rite Aid is now. And before that, I guess you know, there was an A&P there, which had moved from up above the boulevard between Kip and Jefferson. But before that, when it was our play area, it was an abandoned tennis courts on that corner. So we had a nice level field there to play on, so football, baseball, whatever we wanted to do. But that was kind of a good thing. And we used to go up what we called the Passaic Woods. That was all that area down where Wrights and those things got built later. So it was all woodland. And that was going so fast with the construction that the Lions went in and bought up the property and donated property. It became Woodland Park. So we preserved some of it, and that's why it was named Woodland Park, to preserve some of the woodland of it. What else would you like to know?
Where did you grow up?
Never grew up. It's the only town I ever been in. Never lived in another town.
And how long have you lived in the area?
Since 1928 when I was born.
Describe the community you grew up in.
Well, it was a very nice community. I would say, you know, very warm. It was a community, not a collection of houses. Some towns you go in, it's a collection of houses. This was always a community. People got together, and first ambulance we got, we bought used from the 1939 World's Fair. They went from door to door to see what families would kick in $5 a piece toward it. I think we paid $1,400. It was a LaSalle. And those were the old kind. It looked like a hearse.
And describe your education experiences in schools.
Oh, yeah. I was in the first class. I went to the addition. That was the kindergarten room on Euclid School. I guess that was around 1933 or so. We were the first class to go in there. I went 9 years counting kindergarten, 9 years in Euclid, and then Franklin School was 4 years high school.
How has it changed over those years?
Well, when I was a youngster, there was no traffic circle. You went down the boulevard and then you made a left turn onto Passaic Avenue and then a right turn to go on the boulevard to get down to Woodridge. What else changed? Well, on the west side there, they sloped down towards Lodi. It was all farms. And they had, of course, the Wissey had a dairy farm, and a couple of Wisseys had vegetable farms. And John Sweemer had a vegetable farm. In fact, I worked on it sometimes in the field. Used to pick green beans. You got paid by the bushel. And when you brought the bushel in, they shook it good to make sure it was a full bushel. And he looked through, if some of the people used to think they were going to cheat, they'd rip plants out and paired it in the bottom, which then he lost plants for the next crop, so he was not happy with that. And that was a big thing to work in the fields and that. And later I worked for the Board of Education and painted classrooms. I worked in the DPW. I worked when we had our own storage plant in town. That was 1944. I worked in there for the summer. I worked for the Observer, the A&P Market. I was always working, either sports or work. Yeah, I never really had what you call a lot of time off.
And what do you miss most about the way it used to be?
Oh boy. Well, one thing I miss, to be honest with you, the 7 o'clock fire one. I used to blow it at 7. That was a signal for all the youngsters to go home. It wasn't meant for that. It was just a test for the fire horns. That was part of the community. And of course, when you had a fire, they used to put the signal on where the fire was. I think our corner on Raymond and Well, I think that was number 23, so if you were in school and heard 23, you started to say, "God, I hope it's not my house." Then they had, I think, 4, I think, was the ambulance. There were different codes for everything. And that's right, you know, if you had no school or anything, too, they used that. That was a signal.
Who are some of the great characters from here?
From who?
Great characters from here.
Oh, well, you see Arthur Godfrey, he would come in town, go on the boulevard, and a lot of times he'd go check the jukeboxes to see if his records were in the machine. And of course, Frank Sinatra, when we were, in fact, he was the next door neighbor, one of my classmates. We used to see him, he'd come in Fishers also. I guess Willie Moretti and Pete LaPlaca, they were very well-known people, and very good for the community. They were very generous with the community. And they kept anybody out that would make mischief you weren't. They were very good that way. Who else did I know? Oh, they had a pilot, I can't think of his name right off. He lived in the 300 block of Raymond Street, and he was a pilot for Admiral Byrd when they made the polar flights. Because we had a lot of aviators in the town. That's how our team, got the name, Aviators. And we used to have the flying circus down there. You'd look up, see somebody coming down on a parachute, or what was going to be next. That was a big part of it.
Yeah. Do you remember any great stories or legends about our town?
One thing I remember hearing a story that a very severe storm, it was still called Corona in those days, hit Corona here and then jumped over to Corona in New York, the same storm. Now whether that's factual, I don't know, but they say that was an interesting story, that the 2 Coronas got a severe storm, one right after the other. What else do I know? I'm trying to think. Oh, the movie theater, that was another thing that was nice. In the corner of Franklin and the Boulevard. And had a wooden floor. After a while it even got holes in it. So, and Arthur Godfrey's mother played the piano in there. The big theaters had an organ, the small ones had pianos. And then that was replaced with a gas station. And I remember Bernie Kreins got badly burned there, a gasoline fire, and he died from that. And his brother Roy was in the army, went over World War II, I think was in France, and he was killed. The only one left, I think, was the sister in the family after that. That was a kind of heavy hit for one family. And then Paulson had, which was the drugstore on the corner. That was a Prima Donna now, they call it, don't they? That was Paulson's drugstore. And it had a big ice cream parlor in the back part. And if you go on Franklin Avenue and look at the side of the building, you can see in the stucco the outline of a very big window that was there. I mean, really big, like as big as that wall. And that looked out onto the theater. If you went in there and you sat in the wire chairs like the ice cream parlors had. And that was a big thing when my aunt would come out from New York, was to get her to take me there. Where do you want to go, pals? For the ice cream. But, and we had, how many supermarkets on the boulevard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we had quite a few of them
Oh,
over
and
the years.
that's the next question.
Yeah.
Where did you shop, and how far away were these shops? And how did you get there?
Well, Quality Market was sort of the premier of the community, and that was very nice. You didn't really have to shop. You could just call on the phone, and they would make up whatever you wanted and bring it to the house. And the butcher in there was Herb Hexter. He had the butcher section. And if you told him I'm having guests and how big a piece of meat do I need, and he'd tell you how to cook it and what to do. Yeah, and of course everything got delivered. Yeah, we really didn't tend to go to markets like we do now. We just pick up the phone. I think 0422 was the number, and 0423. They had 2 telephones. I have to check that. Those numbers are right.
Even with clothes you would do that? Or like with clothes, like would you call someone or like would you actually?
Oh, when you, on the telephone, well, when you picked up a phone, they said, "Number, please." The telephone exchange was on Franklin Avenue, right behind the building where they have the Minuteman Press now.
Mhm.
That was the telephone building. And, yeah, they'd say, "Number, please," and you tell them. And if somebody died or born or whatever happened overnight, they might give you the news because they know who it was. Using the phone, say, "Gee, did you know this or that happened overnight?" It was very interesting.
Well, back then, they used to have party lines too, so you didn't have just a telephone for yourself. You usually were with somebody else, so you would have to
Yeah.
wait until they were finished using it
Yeah,
before
well, we
you
never
could
had
and
a
so
party
forth.
line, we had our own, but there were party, you had
Right,
2 party and
exactly.
4 party lines, that's true. And you pick it up, somebody was using it, if you had an emergency, say, "Gee, I gotta call the doctor," or something. But we never had that, we always had a direct line.
And so starting with you now, well, I mean,
Wait 1 second,
Okay.
I don't like one setting on here.